Okay, I got a story for you. Are you ready? I used to be a sugaraholic. In my 20s, I loved sugar. I ate sugar all the time. I could not get rid of sugar. And then one day, I realized that it was controlling me and I wanted to give it up. And so let me tell you what I did, and let me tell you how I did it, and let me tell you what the result was and how I've never gone back since having that awareness 30 years ago. That I needed to stop letting sugar control me, and that I wanted to be able to have a different relationship with sugar. So on this video, we're gonna dive into what happens to your body when you give up sugar. Okay, for starters, here's the biggest problem with sugar. It is a dopamine rush. We live in a dopamine saturated world. And one of the things we know is that when we are on these big highs with dopamine, that there becomes this moment where we can never feel happy, because dopamine is the molecule of more. It is not the molecule of enough. So what dopamine does is it pulls you to something, you get a dopamine hit, and then you want to go after it again. So whether it's social media, whether it's a text on your phone, whether it's the ability to have DoorDash or some car service bring you food right at your front door, we are so dopamine saturated. And what happens with sugar, and I really, for those of you that are sugar addicted, I want you to think this through for a moment. You crave that sugar. And while you are literally in your brain thinking, I'm gonna go get some sugar, the dopamine's already kicked in. The dopamine is like, yeah, you have a chocolate bar in the pantry, go get it. And the minute you're like, yep, I'm gonna go get it, the dopamine starts. And you haven't even put it in your mouth. And you're walking towards the chocolate bar, you get the chocolate bar, you eat it, and now all of a sudden you get this massive dopamine spike, you feel amazing, and then guess what it does to you? Your body goes, let's do that again. It is never satisfied. And the higher the sugar content, the more you are going to crave it. Full transparency, you wanna know what one of my favorite desserts is? Red licorice. I literally used to go to the movies all the time and red licorice. I'd even take the ends and I drank, check this out, in my 20s, I took these red licorice and I'd bite the end of each one and I'd use it as a straw in my Diet Coke. Now, I want to tell you, I was 30 pounds heavier than I am now. I had chronic fatigue syndrome. I wasn't as happy as I am now. Like I crashed every afternoon at 3 in the afternoon. So this dopamine rich experience at the movies was not serving the rest of my day, of the time of my 24-hour cycle. So I get it. I get the desire for sugar, but I also got to a point where I was never able to be fulfilled when I went down a sugar path. Okay, second thing, when you are eating sugar, it puts you not only on this dopamine roller coaster, but on a blood sugar roller coaster. So you're getting this really high spike and then a crash, and then a really high spike and then a crash. That's a major problem because you eat it, your dopamine brain is like, give me more. You might be like, well, I don't have time to give you more. And then an hour later, you're like, oh my God, if I don't eat, I'm going to kill somebody. And your moods go with this. When you're on these roller coaster, blood sugar roller coaster, you're happy, you're sad, you see possibility, you're irritable, your moods are all over that place. And if you're a perimenopause or a postmenopausal woman, oh my God, like add some depletion of hormones with a sugar roller coaster and you're not going to be a very fun person to be around. So it will increase hunger and it will increase the erratic potential, I'll put it that way, the erratic potential of your moods. So the reason I want you to try what I'm calling a 7-day sugar challenge here is that because what I want you to see is that you will be happier. Maybe not in the beginning, we'll talk about that in a moment. Your moods will be better, your blood sugar will be more stable, you will have more energy. Here's the 7-day challenge. I want you for 7 days to take sugar completely out of your diet. Now, if that sounds horrible, here's what I want you to know. I have coached literally hundreds of thousands of people through the process of changing their eating habits. And I will tell you that the first 3 days are the hardest. So you gotta just say, I'm not going to eat sugar, and the first 3 days are going to be brutal. Now, I can tell you when I was giving up my sugar addiction, when I would want to go back to sugar, my brain would always say, okay, I want that cupcake. I want that piece of cake. I want that red licorice. But do I want the 3 days of having to extreme discipline to get through the cravings that are going to come from me eating that? And I realized I didn't after a while. I didn't want that 3 days of agony, and it was the thing that stopped me from going to sugar. So if this 7-day challenge is going to be new to you, I'm just going to say, know that the first 3 days will be hard, and then after that it gets easier. Observe in the 7 days. What I want you to do is observe your moods. That's the first thing to note here. How do you feel after 7 days? Are you more stable in your thoughts? Are you more stable in your emotions? Report back. Let me know. Second thing I want you to observe in this 7 days is your hunger. So I talked about this. It puts you on this roller coaster. As high as your blood sugar spikes is as low as it'll go. When it goes low, your body says, give me more food, give me sugar, because I need to get it up immediately. So after 7 days, giving up sugar, I want to know, are you less hungry? I think you'll notice you might even make better food choices. Number 3 that I want you to observe after the 7-day challenge is how well you move. So every time your blood sugar spikes from sugar, there is a possibility of a chronic inflammatory situation coming in, where you're just all this inflammation is going to come flooding into your body, and now you're going to feel stiff, your brain's going to feel a little foggy, and you might notice when you sit down, stand up, I do this sometimes, like when I get up in the morning. If I get up and I'm like walking first thing out of my bed, and I'm like, oh God, like I am so stiff today. The first thing I think is, what did I eat yesterday? Is there something that I ate? Now, again, I struggle. I try so hard to not eat sugar. It does fall into my diet every once in a while, but it's always high quality. But still, sometimes even when I have maybe dessert at night, I might notice more stiffness the next day. So notice how you move. You might have better joint mobility because the inflammation comes down. Number 4, I want you to notice how you think. This goes back to the dopamine issue that we have with sugar, and this is really important. When you are dopamine addicted, you are never fully satisfied. So one of the ways of getting off of dopamine is start with what you eat. Change sugar and see if all of a sudden the other dopamine-rich things that you do just don't have that hold on you as much. Dopamine is sneaky. And the more dopamine-rich environments from, everything from maybe, something that you bought that gave you a dopamine rush, to a goal you're chasing, to, like I said, the text and the social media dopamine rush, all of that can change when you pull one dopamine-rich activity out of the equation, and it calms the whole dopamine system down. So if you stop eating sugar, all of a sudden now you're calming down that dopamine situation, and you might find you don't want to overeat as much. You might find that you're satisfied more in life. Like, let's look at how you're thinking after 7 days without sugar. And again, report back after 7 days. Okay, number 5, last one here, and then I've got a bonus that I really want to talk to you about. So number 5 is look at how your cravings change. So one of my favorite studies ever done on fasting was done on the every other day diet. And they took people who had horrible food habits. And what they did is they told them, eat whatever you want one day, and then the next day, fast all day. And then eat whatever you want, and then fast all day. And so over the course of a year, they saw that their food habits changed. Now, this isn't fasting. This is a sugar fast, so it's a little bit of fasting. But what happens when you take the bad food out of the equation is the microbes in your gut stop sending you signals saying, hey, feed me, feed me, feed me. So when it comes to sugar, one of those microbes is a fungus called Candida. And when you actually are feeding Candida, it has a party in your gut. And all of a sudden, it'll tell you, feed me more sugar, feed me more sugar. So when you pull sugar out of your diet for 7 days, you starve that Candida out, and it stops talking to you and telling you to crave more sugar. Doesn't take long for this kind of switch to happen. It can be very, very quick. So notice, observe what you crave. So it's moods, it's hunger, it's how you move, it's how you think, and how you crave. And when you change all of that, now all these other results get so much either. Now your weight loss results, your sleeping, your happiness, it all changes because you pulled yourself off of a blood sugar roller coaster and a dopamine roller coaster with one major food. Now here's the bonus. Put in the comments if you're going to do the challenge. I really want to know. So here's the bonus. After 7 days, add sugar back in. Have a sugar-rich day. See what you think. How's it doing? So are you craving more sugar? How does your brain think? How do you move all of these things? Because sometimes food can be so sneaky and we don't really see what it's doing to us. And then we take it out and we might go, there's a lot of suffering. I didn't really notice anything. And then all of a sudden we add it back in and we go, oh my God, this is why I've been depressed. Oh my God, this is why I don't sleep right. We start to see its effects when we add it back in. So take it out for 7 days. First 3 days are going to be brutal. I'm cheering you on. Come back to this video. Look at me in the eye. I'm cheering you on. I know you have the capability to do that. I know you can do it. Be excited about what you accomplished. Notice what you notice. And then on day 8, add it back in. As always, I love entertaining and educating you all, and let me know if this video helps. And we're all in this health thing together, so I hope this information moves the needle in the direction that you want to go with your health. Know that I'm cheering you on.
Okay, check this out. I have a free fasting guide for you all. It's free, and it's going to teach you all the basics of fasting. It's going to teach you how to kill hunger when you fast, which is really cool, and it's going to show you how to break your fast, among many other things. All you got to do is click on the link below and enjoy.
What are some real telltale signs for our listeners that you may not be getting enough minerals?
One thing I want to say is that because our food supply is lacking in minerals, there's actually a term for micronutrient deficiency, and it's called the hidden hunger. And isn't that what so many people are feeling? So, particularly when we're trying to affect our health and we're trying new diets or ways of eating and things. And you go to the fridge, you eat dinner, an hour later or half an hour later, you're like opening the fridge, looking for that thing that's to fill that void. And what I say to people is, what if that feeling is just your cells saying, I need minerals?
Yep.
So if you are constantly feeling cravings for sugar and salt, this absolutely can be mineral deficiency. I'll tell you an example. I just went away. I was traveling for 2 weeks, and wouldn't you know, the mineral geek doesn't bring minerals on her trip. Like, hello.
Happens to the best of us. It happens to the best of us.
By the end of that 2 weeks, I was actually with my family, and I found myself craving sugar, like carbs and sugar. And I'm not a carb and sugar craver. So that it was like, I was like, wow, this is the minerals. This is absolutely the minerals. So that's the first piece. So things that people don't think of as mineral deficiency, like anxiety, constant low-level anxiety, panic, depression, blood sugar irregulation, not being able to sleep through the night. I mean, sleep and minerals is absolute. I mean, we know magnesium will help people sleep. I don't recommend using magnesium for sleep that way, but that's another conversation. But hair loss, of course, and, the obvious things, but in the brain fog, absolutely. So we have, and also having a struggle managing your anger, like kind of that mood dysregulation. And that's really big with kids who have lots of outbursts. You can give them minerals, full spectrum minerals, and it can literally change them dramatically. We have a great story on our website about that.
Yeah. And I love that you brought up some of those pieces that we wouldn't tend to think, because my brain goes to hair and nails. And I said this on the last time I brought you on my podcast. The one thing that blows me away when I take your minerals is that my nails grow so fast. So much so that if I don't take a nail clipper with me when I go on a trip, I'm like struggling to find, I got to go buy one. And that never happened before. Never. I would like cut my nails. It got to a point of like maybe once a month. And now it's like once a week. Same thing with my hair. My hair is growing so fast that I'm having to get it cut a lot more. So when those kind of things happen to me, I think, okay, if this is happening to my hair and nails, what other parts of my body are starting to come back online taking these minerals? So one of my questions to you is like, do we know which body parts require more mineral help than others? Do we know what type part of the cell that minerals affect? Like, let's take it down to like an organ cellular system conversation.
Well, we're used to thinking about our body like parts. We have a heart, we have lungs, we have nails, we have hair, we have tissues, we have biosynthesis processes like hormone production and thyroid production and cortisol, and we have our cardiovascular system, and we have lymph, and all of these. We're used to thinking about it like parts, but when we think about minerals, what you have to do is think about your entire body is made of cells. Every single part of your body is made of cells, and minerals work at a cellular level. So you have maybe 37 to 150 trillion cells in your body as an adult human. And inside each cell, there are mitochondria. And just to give you a sense of scale, like on the back of your hand, you might have in a single cell, like 1 to 200 mitochondria. In your heart, in a single cell, like 5 to 8,000 mitochondria. And in your brain, like you could have up to 2 million mitochondria in a single cell. Okay. Wow. What these mitochondria do is they generate almost all of the energy in your body, almost all of it. So if you don't have enough, those mitochondria, which are fueled by minerals and amino acids, do not have enough fuel available, your body will have to pick and choose what it does and what it does not do. And it doesn't really need your hair, and it doesn't really need your nails, and your skin, we can let it go a little bit. And, that gut, we're just going to limp along and not get rid of that inflammation. And if you have a cut, it's going to heal much more slowly and on. And this anxiety is literally can be fueled by your cells. Literally. I mean, how do you feel when you're hangry? You're hangry, right, like on edge. So imagine every cell is like, okay, am I going to get what I need now?
Yeah, that's really well said. I think that's really well said, because the body will always, like, let's say you have for the lack of clear information, let's say you have a small dosage of minerals in your body. And so your body's going to have to prioritize where those minerals go. Mm-hmm. So I would think the brain would probably be its top priority.
And the heart.
And the heart. And it makes sense that the hair would fall out and your nails would, one of the things I've noticed is if I don't take it, I get the ridges on my nails. Mm-hmm. So I use my hair and nails to sort of tell me where my minerals are at. But what you just said is really interesting, which is if your nails aren't growing or your hair is falling out, you're at a mineral deficit, but that might be because the body has taken your mineral load and has put it into other organs in order to keep you alive. Before we got on this, you talked a little bit about the cell membrane. And the cell membrane is a really interesting one to me, because that is how nutrients get into the cell and how toxins get out of the cell. It's also how hormones get into the cell and out of the cell. So if your cellular membrane is junk, I don't care how many patches you put on yourself. I don't care how many creams or troches or pellets you lather yourself up with. You are never going to be in hormonal balance. So talk to me a little bit about that cellular membrane, and what do we know about how minerals can make that membrane more receptive to the hormones in our body?
So it's so cool. The cellular membrane it's the way a cell works is absolutely miraculous.
It's really cool.
But I always like to help people think about it this way. So if you're in a room, and imagine the room is a cell, okay? Maybe you have one door and one window. If you can't open the window because it's, been painted closed with seed oils, right? And the door is locked from the outside. Well, nothing can come in and out. Okay. But let's say you have one door and one window. Well, some things can come in and out. But if you had 4 doors and 4 windows, then the efficiency of both nutrients in and biowaste and toxins out would be greatly affected. Okay.
Yeah.
That is so important to the overall nutritional system and replenishment. I love this word replenishment because, we can supplement, which means stuffing a whole bunch of stuff into our body and hoping the body can do something with it. Or we can actually understand the way the replenishment system works in the body, and we can provide things that replenishment system naturally can utilize. And so if you have this cell lining, one of the cool things about humic, which is a part of one component of plant-based minerals, is that it interacts with the proteins in cell walls, causing it to open more channels. Okay. Now, most channels that open in a cell wall, they're gated because the wall is a place to keep non-beneficial substances out of the inside of your cells. And that's fantastic. Okay. Now, the sad thing with something like glyphosate is that your body recognizes glyphosate as glycine, which is one of the most prevalent amino acids in your body, and it will let it into the cell. Okay. So that's one of the reasons glyphosate is so bad for us. Okay.
Yep.
So most of the channels that open in a cell wall are gated. So it's like a magnesium molecule hits the cell and it says, the cell goes, oh, that's magnesium. Let's let it in. Okay. But the fulvic molecule, which is the other component of plant-based minerals, it's called a flavonoid. And a flavonoid is a transportation molecule. And the fulvic molecule is the most effective transportation molecule. It'll carry 60 times its weight of nutritional elements, hormones, minerals, amino acids into the cell. And any channel that opens in that cell wall, it gets a free pass through.
Wow.
So this is a way that especially, and this is why it help people so much when they're struggling to get into that fat adapted state, that fasting state. Because when they're going through that process, if their cell linings are clogged, they're getting way fewer minerals into their cells and everything starts to glitch. Like all your electrical systems, the communication between cells, all of the things start to glitch. Okay. So what you want to do is actually provide these things that both increase the number of doors and windows that you have in your room, and then have a whole bunch of guys with backpacks carrying things in and bringing them into you, and then filling up all the trash and taking it out.
Okay, where are my gals that are struggling with hormonal imbalance? Bloated, feeling like you're not making progress with weight loss? You need to add these foods in so that you can support better hormonal health. There is a lifestyle that estrogen wants you to live, and there's a lifestyle that progesterone wants you to live.